From the News Talk STL studios in St. Louis, it's the Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Tonight, improving your mental health with TV personality Jennifer Gaydos Hartman, grading the State of the Union with political trivia savant Rich Rubino, and the Right Mind studio band Mitch Murphy and the Murphy Tones. Now, putting the fun in your dysfunctional world, here's your host, Todd Showalter.
Hey, I'm sorry if I'm a little frazzled and running late here, but I've been busy watching not my third, but my fourth rerun of the State of the Union address. That had to be the best, not only State of the Union, okay, but I think one of the best shows of all time. I would have paid pay-per-view to watch that. Oh, it was good. Did you watch it?
I thought the hockey players were going to fight, and then it would be a pay-per-view.
Oh.
Ronda Rousey would come out, Anderson Silva, the gold medal hockey team, and they just fight right there.
Winning. Everybody just can't stop winning. Can't stop winning. There were so many nuggets in that. It was almost like, and I'd say it was scripted, but it kind of is scripted, but he was perfect. He didn't botch a line or do anything wrong. And just these one-liners and the zingers and all this stuff, it was pure comedy gold. Now, I don't know what it said about our state of the actual union, but you know what? It put me in a good, happy state. I'll tell you that, because I was really, really giddily laughing. Is that a word?
I learned a lot. There was some National Geographic things like black people aren't monkeys.
Yeah, what was that all about?
Al Green, he usually talks about fishes. He's like, take me to the river.
Right. Is he still doing that?
Today he was talking about primates.
Primates. He had a big, the sign that says we're not monkeys, or what was it?
It said black people are not monkeys.
Yeah. Was he confused? Because apparently out at the Lincoln Memorial or something, they were all dressed as frogs. Did you hear about that? They had like a counter rally to the State of the Union, and I guess they were trying to be funny, but nothing was as good as Donald Trump's
They're
stuff.
turning our frogs gay.
Well, they were running around as dancing stuffed frogs. Did you hear about this? They're like dressed up like frogs.
I know that's a common protest costume for ICE, anti-ICE protests in Portland. They dress up as animals. I wonder if it had something to do with that.
A frog?
There's so many different fractions and factions of the Democrats having their own anti protests. I didn't know who to look at, what to tune into.
Well, it doesn't matter. You know why? Because they're crazy. He called them. He just called them out. Anything. You know me, okay? I mean, you know me very well. A lot of stuff, I have this filter in my mind, in my mouth, that I try not to let everything come out of my mouth that's in my mind, and so, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad. But here's the thing with Donald Trump. A lot of this stuff that I'm actually thinking actually comes out in his mouth, okay? So the whole, you're crazy, you're a Somalian pirate, all this other stuff, he is actually, it was like we were like on the same wavelength. It was like a magical experience.
He was playing his own version of Simon Says, Donald Says, and, he could get them all to stand at the same time if he trashed Pelosi. I don't think she's very popular over there.
No, and he called her out on the insider trading. Yeah, I mean, that was perfect timing, too. He was saying, well, there's not going to be any more insider trading, which all Congress does, and he said he made a jab at Nancy Pelosi. Well, Nancy knows about that, Nancy. And didn't you? You had some game, didn't you? You said you could have done a game, like a Simon Says game. Tell us about this game.
That's how we should pick the president from now on. No more voting. After Donald finishes his third term, he does Donald Says during the State of the Union. And whoever is the last one standing gets to be the next president. And he'll just call it out, Donald says, finger on your nose, and then everyone touches their nose. Because these people, they wouldn't stand. He was telling them when to stand, when not to stand.
Right.
He was saying that if you support illegal immigrants, stay sitting. But he said it in the reverse way where it confused everyone.
And it worked.
If you believe that America's government should put Americans first over illegal immigrants, that confused me trying to say it.
Well, yeah,
I think
the
Democrats were really a step behind, and they didn't get the group text that he was going to do this.
Right.
So they just they kept
sat there.
They kept sitting there.
Kept sitting.
And then they looked so dumb on the TV.
They looked totally dumb. And that was almost like $1 billion worth of advertising right there. Because now the midterms are coming out. We'll talk to old Rich Rubino about this. And then we have, of course, the following election. Although we all know Donald Trump's going to be a third-term president, right? Mm-hmm. Weren't we talking about that? So after his third term, there will be another one. And they will be using all of these little clips from that State of the Union, for years. I mean, it was just advertising gold.
We have to think of ways that he could trick them. He's like, now stand in the place where you work. Now face west.
Right.
And think about the place where you live.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder why you haven't before. And they'd go, well, that's an REM song, and I am in the place where I work, so I guess I should stand, but I don't stand for anything Trump says. He'd be like, hands on your knees, right foot, right stomp. And then they would go, they would do the stomp and then realize he's just doing the cha-cha slide. And you go, Donald didn't say.
And it's just a jump to the left. That's also from Rocky Horror, which has nothing again to do with State of the Union.
Choreograph the dances during the State of the Union. That's what I want.
I love that idea. It could be a musical next time. That's really good. You know who the only normal guy in the whole dang Democratic Party seems to be is the Lurch guy, the Fetterman. He seems like a real logical guy. I mean, I used to make fun of that guy, but he said he made it a point to shake Donald Trump's hand. He said, I think we should still respect the office. And meanwhile, you've got these people screaming at the president. They won't get up. They've got signs that says, we are not apes. And then you got Fetterman, who I used to think was just kind of like not really with it, that is actually cerebral and acting like a normal human being. Who would have thought that was ever going to happen?
I'd love it if it was a 90s alt-rock musical, Pearl Jam, and be like, can't find a Fetterman. Like, well, he's 7 feet tall. He's right over there. I was actually with our good friend Tony Colombo. He's got a show here on News Talk STL.
Yeah.
And there was this huge debate happening before the State of the Union in the radio station. Everyone was involved. Big Boss Jeff.
Everyone?
Everyone was saying, how long are we going to carry the State of the Union? As in, how long will Trump speak for?
Okay.
Because we have to move our commercials because they don't allow for commercials during the State of the Union while we're taking it live off of the feed. So we're saying clear all the commercials for 3 hours. Trump has said that he is going to set a new record. He's going to beat off Bill Clinton's record, whether he likes it or not.
Can you say beat off?
I think he beat off his record by 20 minutes or so. But what happened was Tony and I went on to the prediction market website, Polymarket, and we saw what the different bets you could make on how long Trump's speech was going to be. And there was 60 minutes or less, 70, 80, 90, and 100 plus. Those are the only options. And I said, Tony, you need to bet everything. Bet the house, bet the farm on 100 plus.
Right.
Because you will make out like a bandito. And he said, nah, if I were to imaginary bet my entire daughter's wedding budget, which is probably $100,000. She's a beautiful girl. I'm sure Tony's got that money just jangling in his pocket.
Oh, sure. I already got the invitation.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Go ahead.
Tony said, I'm going to fake imaginary bet all of it on 70 minutes. I said, Tony, you're an idiot. You are an idiot if you don't go 100 plus. And he says, you watch and wait. After the 107-minute speech, Tony texts me and he says, I lost it all, buddy.
Oh, wow.
Man, the daughter's not getting married. I can't afford it. I lost it all.
Are they doing it at the Golden Corral now?
I think they're doing it at the Hojo in Springfield.
The Hojo. Now, you just got back from Springfield, bringing that little story up. And I had a theory. I said, I know a lot of people in Springfield, Missouri. And Jamie Gregg, he's from down there. He's a wonderful person. But some of the...
if you're topless, call Jamie Gregg.
Yeah, give him a call. In fact, he'll actually, I think he has a room in his home for you. He'll let you just hang out there. But you just threw that out there. I'm on my way back from Springfield, and I thought that was just a joke, like, who's going to do that? Like you're on your way back from the grocery store. But it turns out you really were in Springfield, and you were just put through a living hell by this station. Like, what happened?
Well, the Missouri GOP, the big Republican Party, happens every year, and they switch cities all the time. Because last year, it was next door here at Westport.
Oh.
This year, they had it in Springfield, so I had to drive 3 hours there and 3 hours back to do a live broadcast.
Unbelievable.
With our boys Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Right.
I show up at 2 o'clock, and immediately I'm getting yelled at because I'm not supposed to be in this section of the convention center for another hour.
Right.
I'm all the way set up, and they said, nope, you got to pick your tables up, move them over there for an hour, and then bring them back.
Now, who said this?
The lady in front of the convention center at the beautiful, opulent Oasis Hotel in Springfield.
Oasis Hotel that used to be a Howard Johnson's?
Used to be a Hojo.
That used to have
good ice cream. And then they give me a room after the radio broadcast on the 5.5th floor. Not the 5th floor, not the 6th floor, 5.5.
How does that work?
And you know what? The elevator doesn't go to the 5.5th floor.
Well, what did you do?
So I have my dolly full of tables and thousands of dollars of heavy equipment, and I run into a flight of stairs. I get off the elevator, take a right, and there's a flight of stairs at the end of the hallway.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind that I was given a room that an elevator doesn't go to. I have to unload everything, put it at the top of the stairs, reload it, and then put it in my room. And then when I move my car to a spot close to my room, pick up a nail, end up with a flat tire.
So you got a flat tire after all of this.
And then I drive home the other 3 hours and my back gets kinked. I got kinked out. I mean, I haven't recovered yet.
Okay, so what kind of compensation? I mean, I'm sure that they did, because you are the most valuable person here at this station. So what did they do? I mean, I'm pretty sure that they just opened the floodgates of cash and prizes to say, look, we're so sorry for this problem. Take this on our behalf. I mean, what did you get out of all this?
Well, I called up the Attorney General, Catherine Hanaway.
Right.
And she wears the coolest Air Force One Nike sneakers you've ever seen.
Really?
And
How would you know this?
Because she's on the station all the time, and when we visit her at the Capitol, she's had a pink suit with pink Air Force One shoes. And she said that you and I, because I got you a part of this too, can go through her closet and take any 2 pairs of her Air Force Ones.
No, you're just making this part up.
No. And
Really?
Catherine Hanaway and I are like this. Do you hear the fingers?
Oh, that kind of...
We are together as besties now.
Speaking of fingers, that's, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of hands. And guess what? What did I show everybody at the station but you first, my best buddy? Look what I did. I put bronzer on my hands so they match my face. What do you think of that? What did you do? You're just taking off your... What? Ladies and gentlemen, Joey's taking off his headphones and his clothes right here. What are you doing?
I don't know if you can hear this, but there is a GD ice cream truck in the parking lot that's trying to get in on our show.
What are you talking about, an ice cream truck?
Let's listen.
Oh, my gosh, it is the ice cream man. And I do hear him. Why don't we just break and get some ice cream? I'm going to get let's get a bottle rocket. You want to get a bottle rocket? Those, what the ones that are red, white, and blue, they're like a popsicle. You want to get one of those?
He's driving through the corporate hell trying to bring some joy, but his corporate hell is on wheels. His corporate hell is the ice cream machine.
Right.
Can you imagine just working in something that's so joyful to so many people, but you live the miserable life of ice cream man?
And I don't think they're actually selling ice cream. I've heard a lot of these guys is just a front for drugs and like, munitions. I think a lot of some of the big munitions and gun deals going down are coming out of ice cream trucks. That's what I think.
What are your final thoughts about the State of the Union?
The State of the Union, I think it was one of the funniest dang things I've ever seen. I mean, I think that they really, from what I understand, is that apparently the Democrats thought they had him on the rope, Donald Trump, that is, and he was going to be defensive about a lot of things, and, he was trying to, kind of like backed into a corner, and he came out fighting, and not only did he come out fighting, he came out with some of the best material. I think Rich Rubino, who's going to be on the show today, would just be gosh darn jealous of some of the nuggets that he was throwing out there, because that was pure comedy gold. I go back and some of these little news bites that come. I mean, we're going to be hearing these little bits and bites for years to come. That's what I think. I think it was out of 10, I gave it a 12.
Yeah, it looked like all the Democrats are also wearing buttons that said "Release the big black bar files."
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something to do with Korean pornography.
I don't know.
Pretty much all the Korean pornography that I've seen, downloaded. Well, it has bars over the genitalia usually.
Well, it has to.
I don't know why, because I've seen ones in America that don't have that, but for some reason the Korean ones, they always have big black bars covering everything, and the Democrats are obsessed with getting it uncensored for some reason. And all of them were wearing these pins, which weren't very visible on TV, that said, "Release the big black bar files."
Right. When I think, well, it just kind of shows you where their state of mind and the mind
in the gutter.
Totally in the gutter. I think the toilet, actually. And they also had those too, like they were from the Muppet Show, sitting together, like the one from the Somalian and the other one that looks kind of like she doesn't smell too well.
Ilan Omar.
Yeah, and the other one.
Rashida Tlaib.
Her.
Tlaib and Omar.
She had this big button on. She reminds me of like Jabba the Hutt. I'm sorry. And that may be a mean thing to say. But
as soon as I see her, I yell, "Forehead!"
That's
Well, for both of them, because Omar's got it covered. She wears the turban. Yeah. She's got the turban.
Oh, I just, if Body Odor had a picture that
the lack of forehead that's on Omar's fully in effect on Tlaib. She's got it covered for both of them.
She had a big button on that said the F word ice. And I thought, come on. I mean, you're supposed to be
ice cream.
Yeah, that's exactly.
He's like the third chair on this show.
Oh, that is the ice cream. He's back. Look at that. And he's throwing out those buttons. That's not a button. I don't know what the heck that is. You want to go get some ice cream in the break?
Of course.
Okay, let's do it. Hey, we do have a big show coming up. So in the meantime, I'm Todd Showalter, along with my bestest buddy who really wants some ice cream, Joey V. This is The Bright Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter, mental health advocate and TV personality Jennifer Gaydos Hartman. Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter on News Talk STL. And now a man who has never read a self-help book, but is addicted to helping himself to all the free samples at Costco, Todd Showalter.
And we're back. I'm Todd Showalter, along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. And on the line now, as I was mentioning earlier, Joey, she's from a TV show, the Real Housewives of Dallas, and she's also a mental health advocate, author, among other things. Her name is Jennifer Gaydos Hartman. How are you, Jennifer?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you guys for having me on the show today.
Well, thanks for coming on. You've got an extensive background. Along with being a TV personality, you're an author, but you're a mental health advocate. Why don't we jump into that? What does that all involve, and how did you get into it?
Yes. So my background is nursing. I was a psych nurse for many, many years, starting my career in 2009. And then just through personal experience, I took that really deep personal dive into mental health and addiction. So I love what I do and I love being able to help others, but tragedy comes along with that. And so I have I have three amazing children, two boys that are now 24 and 21, and their father became addicted to drugs and ultimately was in an accident and really changed the lives for my children. And I was a single mom. And so that was my reasoning for getting into this field and taking a deep dive, because I never wanted another child to have to be without one of their parents.
Yeah.
And so that was my drive.
Yeah, I mean, and it's true. I mean, along with all the pain that comes with addiction, I mean, sometimes the family members, I don't want to say that they're overlooked, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, I think they hurt as much, if not more, than the actual addict.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whether that's addiction or mental health. And sadly, in 2020, January 1st, my stepfather was suffering from mental health, and he ultimately took my mother's life and his own. And to talk about that, yes, we are the ones that carry that burden for the rest of our life. Their pain is gone, but we are the ones that are working through that.
Yeah, and I can't imagine. I mean, that's just unfathomable. I mean, to deal with something like that. So the situation, this was your stepfather, correct? And
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was my stepfather who raised me. My parents lived in Pennsylvania, and I'm in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't there to see the signs and the symptoms. Not until the very end. And we really tried hard to get him into treatment and to get him help. But there's this stigma of, I don't want to admit that there's something going on. So my movement is, I am my mother's voice. I am her voice, and I am here to help families and individuals that are feeling that, you know, they have suicidal ideations or there's an addiction attached to it as well.
And so what do you think? I mean, is there a process? I mean, that's such a huge, I mean, people deal with, they have family members with, you know, depression or addiction and things like that. But you take it to a whole another level when you're talking about murder, suicide. I mean, how do you put that into some type of, I know you've written a book, Tomorrow is Not Promised, but how do you put that all together in this, deal with it from an emotional standpoint and use it in a productive way?
Well, you know what? I was not going to be a victim. Mm-hmm. I was going to be a survivor. And doing so, that's me being her voice and talking about it. We don't realize how many murder-suicides that there are. I mean, alone, we're in February. You know, since this year started, we're over 80,000 suicides already.
Yeah, I mean,
just for 2026. So, yeah, I want to be here to tell my story. My book is not just about my mother's, the murder suicide, but it's about my trials and tribulations growing up and giving people that faith that if you have a dream, you can do it. If you have a vision for yourself, don't give up on yourself, because I'm here as a true testimony that you can achieve anything that you want in life.
So with your book, and as far as like a roadmap for doing that, I mean, did you, when you were a child, there were things that you were suffering from that you had to overcome and then, you know, build upon?
Absolutely. My parents got divorced when I was around 2 years old. My father was a functioning alcoholic. My mom got remarried, not to the stepfather that killed her. Both of my parents were on their third marriages, but her second marriage was a very toxic, volatile relationship for myself and my siblings, emotionally, physically. And so I was I felt very alone because I was not safe being with my dad. I didn't feel safe being with my mom. And, as a little girl, I recognized that, thankfully, at a very young age, that I wanted to stop this cycle. And, I dealt with not just the emotional abuse. I was sexually abused by a stepbrother. My stepfather was very, very emotionally abusive. I remember a time that he wrote on my arm like white trash, and he would tell me he would never be anything. And I knew if I did really well in school and I stayed out of trouble, the moment that I graduated, I was leaving. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I did. I packed my car up at 17, and my amazing, beautiful grandmother drove with me across the United States. And I was determined to break that cycle and to really make something of myself.
So you physically left, obviously, and that's all for the best. But you're still going to have a lot of emotional baggage. I mean, what was your process with that? I mean, obviously you're carrying it. When did it get to the point where you had to process and actually start dealing with it? I mean, was it something that happened over time, or did you have a breaking point, or what was it that finally said, "Hey, I've got to deal with this, and this is how I'm going to do it"?
Well, I did therapy as a kid. But at a very young age, you really don't know how to use the tools that are given to you. And I would say I became a mom very young at 19. That is when I knew that childhood trauma I was carrying, I needed to deal with. People don't understand you are born with 3 generations of trauma from the moment you were born. So I really had to take
Explain that as far as...
Yes. Yeah, so let's go back 3 generations. Let's go back to your mom. Your mom was in your grandmother's stomach. Mm-hmm. Everything, every emotion, everything she endured, every trauma carries on to the baby. There's clinical proof that we carry 3 generations, and that just continues and continues. So, what happened to, for us being in our mom's stomach, our moms being pregnant with us, everything she endured impacted us as a fetus. And so, people don't realize that, that's the core of everything is the trauma that we endure and what we experience in life. And I just knew that I had to really work on that. And I took the time to do a lot of different modalities of therapy, EMDR, somatic therapy, and meditation, and bring in whatever, spiritual, what I needed to do for me. And once I got down that path, it changed my life. And I think that because I had those tools and dealing with what happened to my parents and being in this field as well, I was able to help my kids. My kids tragically found them. They were visiting and found them. So I had to put them first. And listen, it wasn't easy for me. Every day you're working on yourself and you're doing the therapy, or I do my meditation and I do journaling. But I wanted to take something so horrible to be able to help other people with what they are going through. And I always say, it is okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to address it and fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, going with the murder-suicide, it's just so tragic. And the one thing I've never really been able to understand it. I've always thought, suicide, I know people are dealing with their demons and things like that, but it's still kind of selfish in a way to do that to your family members if you truly love them. But I've never really understood somebody that would take somebody else's life along with their own. What is that? I mean, you dealing with it? Were there signs? Were there things where were there times where you warned your mother? I mean, can other people? I mean, if they're even close, even remotely in this situation, what are things that they should look for?
Well, to tell you, yes. So my mom started to relate to me that he was being very withdrawn. His interest completely dissipated. He was always building things and very active. And we saw that he didn't want to leave the couch, or he would go to work. He was eating excessively, gaining weight excessively, start having a nightcap, which he never drank ever. Mm-hmm. I went back in October to try to do an intervention with him. And it was very scary looking into his eyes because he wasn't there anymore. And I said to my mom, it's time for you to leave. And we were in that process of her getting ready to leave. We just weren't fast enough. So what I would say is, if you see those signs and symptoms, seek help. Try to, really push to get them into a therapist, into a treatment center, to work on the mental health. And usually there's substance use that is connected to that. And like I said, towards the end, he was starting to drink. So it's, 16.8% of Americans suffer from substance use disorder. Only, it's sad, with nearly 8 out of 10, they don't receive treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that was that pushed you to put together your book then? I mean, write your book, Tomorrow Is Not Promised?
Did.
Okay. So that, yes. As horrible as that all is, you were able to, kind of put that together and deal with it in a book form. You're on the Real Housewives of Dallas. How did that all come about, just before we wrap up?
Yes, it was so fun. I moved from New York City to Dallas and got approached to be on the show. And I thought, wow, this will be amazing. And at the time, I had a swimwear line called Gianella Swimwear. And I thought, business-wise, this would be great exposure for me. And I had a blast doing it, met a lot of amazing women and a lot of people doing it. So yeah, it was fun. It was definitely fun. My mom would call me laughing, watching the show, and because you never know what's going to come on. They send you the clip the night before and you're like white knuckling it. Like, oh gosh, what did I say? What did I do? So there was a lot that didn't make it that I'm happy about, probably.
That's incredible. That's really neat. Well, and again, you really, your background is very extensive and is very impressive. And I encourage everybody to check out your book. Again, it's called Tomorrow Is Not Promised. Where can people get that?
Yes, it's going to be online soon here. It's going to be released. We haven't released it yet. We're finishing everything up, but I'm excited, and you'll be the first to know when the release date is.
All right, we'll come back and let us know, and we'll plug it we'll have a little release party for you. How's that sound?
I love that. I would be honored.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. I've really enjoyed it, and you have a wealth of great stories and information, and it sounds like you're out there helping people, and I like that too. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Well, I tell you what, it's always something. We were joking, okay, about, my wife and I watch these murder shows all the time, okay, and it's kind of our thing, and you lay in a bed, and because we just like to be, before we fall asleep, we like something calm and peaceful before, they have good dreams about, and so we watch murder shows before we go to sleep. I guess that's not really the best thing to do, but we do this, okay? And so, but the thing is, there's always, not always, but a lot of times it deals with these suicides. And I'm like, so I just don't understand why somebody would, kill somebody. If you're miserable, that's one thing. But why would you kill, especially your spouse or something? Just let them have their life. I don't get it. I just don't understand.
I know. And the problem that I have is that no one likes to be around me, so I'll never really get that chance.
Right.
Something I suffer from is having no friends.
Now stop. Who are you looking at?
I've got you.
Right, me. Are you going to kill me?
But then I've got no one else the rest of the week. And something I've found, this is true though, is that whenever I do feel lonely, I do listen to podcasts. It feels like you've got a friend there. And I just ask Gemini, which is Google AI.
Right.
Are podcasts good for loneliness? And it says yes. Podcasts are highly effective for managing loneliness by providing companionship, comfort, and a sense of connection through intimate, conversational audio, according to studies and listener experiences. And do you ever think about whether we are someone's friends through podcasts?
You and I?
Yeah, someone is probably very lonely, doesn't really see a reason to get up in the morning, but then they turn on the Right Mind Show podcast. and they feel a reason to live, basically.
So you're saying that not only are we just a joy to be around, that we may be actually doing some positive good in the world?
We're saving lives with this show.
You think we are saving lives? We're doing something very special. Could this be like a very special episode of The Right Mind Show?
Yeah, this is just like last week when Admiral Andy Barker came on, and he was talking about his book, The Adler Compound, and he said...
Which I bought.
...that if it saves one life, that's all that matters. It doesn't care about the money. But we're very much into the money, so go to the...
buy some merch.
ToddSProd.com and click on the store button.
Be a sponsor, too, for gosh sakes. I mean, come on. Anybody wants to jump on board.
But if we save one life
get the ice cream man. See if he'll sponsor the show, will you?
If we save one life and sell a T-shirt, it'll all have been worth it.
I think because if we save your life, you get a T-shirt that says "The Right Mind Show saved my life." Don't we have those yet? If not, we should.
We need that in the store.
We should get on those right away. Well, we'll do that during the break, won't we? In the meantime, I'm Todd Showalter, along with my bestest buddy in the whole world, Joey V. This is The Right Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter, reviewing the State of the Union with political trivia savant Rich Rubino. Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter on News Talk STL. And now a man who is still standing after rocking out at the Elton John concert, Todd Showalter.
Hey, we're back. I'm Todd Showalter, along with my bestest buddy in the whole world, Joey V, and my other bestest buddy on the line here, the one, the only Rich Rubino. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Todd. Doing well.
I'm so happy you're here. You know what? I was just listening and watching my fourth replay of the State of the Union address, and I said, I cannot wait to talk to my buddy Rich Rubino about this because, even politics aside, Rich, that had to be one of the most entertaining dang things I've ever seen. How about you?
Yeah. Yes. Well, one thing about Donald Trump, he does very entertaining State of the Union addresses, and they're really a must-watch in terms of just watching for the reactions. The only thing that would have been more interesting would have been if there was a Democrat sitting behind him as Speaker of the House, and then like when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker, and then you could have seen the reaction of the Democrat, but obviously the camera kept panning to the Democrats, and you saw plenty of reactions, including a couple of congressmen that seemed very bored, and one congressman, Thomas Suozzi of New York, was literally asleep.
I saw that. Yeah, I really did. And I think somebody must have whispered something to him because then all of a sudden he pepped up. What do you think this did? Now, we're going into the midterms. I mean, what do you think that had an impact? Because we were talking earlier, I know there are a lot of clips that have gone viral that you're going to see during the ad campaign, the ad campaigns for the midterms. I mean, do you think that hurt the Democrats?
I don't. I don't think that other than perhaps him personally, and he represents a district that's actually went a little bit for Vice President Harris last time, so it might affect him a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily you can't really show that and then show it to another Democrat who wasn't sleeping. I don't think the voters would say, well, he's in the same party as somebody who is sleeping. But obviously it is made for a lot of memes, and it's very humorous memes because of that, and because of you just saw some of the reactions of some of the others. Obviously, it's the longest State of the Union in American history. You're going to get reactions like that, and some people needed a nap, I guess.
Yeah, and we talk about the longest. I mean, that's going to be part of your trivia book here eventually. I mean, because that was the longest State of the Union. What was before that? What was it? Bill Clinton? Was he like the? It was
Bill Clinton, yeah. And then actually, in terms of words, Harry Truman delivered a very long address all the way back in 1947.
Okay. How important do you think the State of the Union is? I mean, do you think obviously this last one we had was quite entertaining. And again, I don't know what it said about the Union itself, but there were a lot of good comedy points. I mean, do you think that really has a huge effect in the long run?
It not in the long run, but in the short run, usually it does because it's on all the networks. So a lot of people that have kind of a peripheral interest, if you will, in American politics, all of a sudden they're going to be turning on the TV and they're going to be watching it and be seeing the president. And those are sometimes the voters that you need, because sometimes low information voters on both sides, the fact that they are potentially watching it just because there's not much else on, you're getting them, and you're getting a free audience, and the president's getting free media to talk directly to these people, and that's where it potentially benefits. That's why sometimes you see a bounce in a couple of days to a week for a president, and they sometimes can increase their poll numbers. So I think it's very important in that respect.
What do you think going into the midterms? I mean, if you were, say, an advisor as opposed to like an analyst, I mean, if you're with the Democrats, it seems like the ones that get most of the spotlight and most of the attention, it's like the greasy wheel, or the noisy wheel gets the grease. It seems like these really out there extremists that are getting all the airtime. Do you really think the main base of Democrat voters are that extreme? Because if I had my own gut opinion, I think they were more moderate. So I mean, how do they go about dealing with that?
I think that's true, and I think that obviously the people that are on the fringes on both sides are the ones that are going to get the attention because they just make for good copy. And it is something that I think, you go to the Democrats that really, I think, are the most important Democrats are those that come from swing districts, like the 13, for example, who represent districts that last time around voted for Donald Trump. And then beyond that, there's about 20 or 30 that represent districts that were very close. Those are the ones that are really important, and those are the ones that potentially could lose their seats. So those are the ones that you really have to go to. The ones that you show are usually the ones that come from congressional districts that are overwhelmingly in one party. For example, they might be 70, 80% Democrat, or on the other side, 60, 70, 80% Republican. So consequently, it actually benefits them personally in their own district, because the only way they're ever going to lose is in a primary. But I think that potentially what happens is then you ask some of those Democrats, what did you think of their reaction? And they're in an awkward position of having to say something like, well, I don't think it was appropriate, or something to that effect. I don't think they want to have to answer for them. But obviously the camera is going to pan to the most extreme members, the members that boo, the members that yell are going to get the most media attention. Just like when Marjorie Taylor Greene a few years ago yelled at Joe Biden, when Lori Boebert yelled at him, that garnered a lot of attention. Just like this year.
Yeah, and I don't think it's. I mean, I think it hurts both sides. I mean, when you have those extremists, you mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she hurt the right, and I think when you have people like Omar, I mean, when you have that screaming going on, I mean, it's. People always say you got to respect the office, and I think that's gone out the window at this point with a lot of people. But at the same time, it does show that can backfire. Is where I'm going for. I mean, I think you may be showing your passion, but at the same time, do we really want people representing us that are out there screaming like 2-year-olds at recess?
Yeah, it's a very good point, and I think you're right, and I think that's what the State of the Union is, because you have the scenario where it's the only time where a president, addressed the joint session. You have members of both parties sitting there listening, and obviously you're going to have a scenario where one party gets up, the other party sits down. Sometimes you'll see something bipartisan, like when they recognize the USA hockey team. And it's really pretty much impossible, I think, for them not to get up and cheer. And even the Supreme Court justices, who are supposed to be extremely neutral, they can cheer for something that is non-controversial. And I also thought what was really interesting was Elizabeth Warren got up when Donald Trump talked about banning stock trading from sitting members of Congress. And you had a scenario where the camera panned to Elizabeth Warren, of all people, and she got up and started cheering. I guess there's some things you really can't sit down for, and I think that it worked for her favor that she stood up for that.
Yeah, I mean, I took a lot away from it. I mean, again, one of the things. I just the whole just not getting up for things that were all American, I thought that was wrong. But then it's almost like you're dealing with, again, recess issues. You're not doing it just because you don't like the guy up there. And to me, a lot of it seems just really childish. I'm going to spin over to the counter thing to the State of the Union. We had that new governor of Virginia. Yeah. And so she was thrust into that situation to kind of be the counter to Donald Trump. And obviously she had already prepared that speech. Is she somebody that they're trying to, because to me, correct me if I'm wrong, the Democrats really don't have a face. I mean, as far as somebody, Chuck Schumer's going to be gone. You got, what's his name, Hakeem. I don't think he's going to be the guy. So are they, do you see her as somebody that they're possibly even going to be thrusting into the limelight when we're looking at the next election? Because I'd never heard of her, but I got to tell you, she seems a little radical herself. But you think we're going to be seeing more of her?
You'll see her potentially. Simply, for example, I think you'll probably see her on some of the morning shows, but she's not somebody that you're going to potentially see as a presidential candidate. She just got elected literally last year as governor of Virginia, and that's oftentimes what a party does for the response, they try to get somebody from outside Washington. For example, the Republicans at one point had Christie Todd Whitman, who was governor of New Jersey. Chris Christie's done it. The Democrats used to have the governor of the current governor of the father of the current governor of Kentucky, Governor Beshear, at one point delivered it. So they try to get somebody from outside Washington. And the fact that she just won her election by 15 points shows that I think for the Democrats, they view this as a barometer of what potentially could happen in the midterm elections in terms of somebody running as kind of a center-left type of a Democrat, winning seats in Congress, potentially taking over the House and the Senate. So that's why I think they gave her that address. But usually what happens is after a day later, people forget who the person is who delivered the address. I mean, I think if you ask the average person, name 3 people that have delivered the opposite address, they would not be able to name that person. So the other problem with it is that the president has all the pageantry and all the histrionics, and he's in front of a joint session of Congress. You have a huge crowd. Then sometimes you have the person delivering the response is simply sitting in a room. This time around, they had, to their credit, the Democrats had a great idea. They had her go to Williamsburg, Virginia, and they had her address a crowd, and you had people cheering, so it would somehow be somewhat equal, at least as much as they possibly could make it, that is, as the actual State of the Union address. But the next day, people are going to forget it. But clearly, the Democrats see her as a rising star, and she's somebody that will probably be on at least a long list of potential vice presidential running mates to whoever the Democratic nominee is in 2028.
Yeah, it seemed like she was kind of being, put in the spotlight. At least I thought it looked like for that reason. I want to ask you my main thing though, because like the Tuesday night, we're sitting there, and again, I didn't know what to expect from the State of the Union, but there were a lot of. My wife, I've never seen her laugh that much in a State of the Union. I was thinking if this was like a pay-per-view, I'd actually pay to see this. But when she was laughing, I said, "Don't laugh too much, because guess what? My buddy Rich is coming on the show this Thursday." And we're going to, for Saturday night, I should say. And so she says, "Rich, he was just on." I go, "People cannot get enough of his comedy." So, I know we just had you on the spot not too long ago, and I know you're working on new material, the new book, and all that stuff. But anything you just want to kind of break through the clutter and just like give us some of the, would you mind a few nuggets of humor here for us?
Sure, absolutely. Well, there was a guy named Nick who worked for a living. He sold clocks.
Nick?
Yes, and he sold clocks for a living.
Is it Nick of Time?
You got it.
Oh my gosh, Joey, I got one.
Oh my gosh.
Joey's shaking his head because I'm not supposed to
You're not supposed to get one.
I'm sorry. Joey says I'm not supposed to. We're gonna have to do another one now. Do another one.
How did you get that? That was really impressive.
I feel terrible. I feel like I stole the punchline of your joke. That
was good. That's the point.
That is the point. Am I okay? So I'm not being scolded. That's okay.
No. That was the point. Absolutely.
Okay. I feel so much better about myself. Well, let's do another one that I won't answer. Joey's giving me the stink eye.
If you can get it, if you can answer it, go right ahead. That's the point. That's the goal here.
Okay, you're the man. You're the man. You're the myth. You're the legend. When is the book coming out, by the way?
It should be coming out at some point in the end of the year.
Okay, all right. I'm counting on it. Okay, because everybody on my Christmas list is getting your new book. Okay, how's that sound?
All right. That is awesome. Okay. I got one more for you.
Yeah. What is it?
You know what I was wondering, and this is more of an observation than anything else. And you saw this in the Super Bowl. There was a gentleman who ran onto the field. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yes, and I often wonder what these people are like outside of running onto the field. Do you ever think about that?
Sometimes, not often, but yeah, okay, sometimes.
I think about that a lot, and my guess is that they are. My guess on what they're like when they're not running on the field is they're very intellectual. And I wonder sometimes, are these people who are members of, say, yacht clubs, are they members of country clubs, the Harvard Club? I just wonder. They seem to, I think my guess is that they probably sit down beforehand and they do a pros and cons list, the pros about running on the field and the cons about running on the field. And the pros usually usually win out, and they go away from their golf club, away from their country club. They're usually lawyers and doctors and very prestigious individuals, and they say, okay, I'm going to run onto the field during a sporting event so that everybody can watch me get tackled and arrested. They just seem like very intellectual people to me, and I think they're very smart, and I think they're really the pillars of our society.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well,
when you hear about these people, what's your impression of them?
I don't think they're really intellectual. What do you think they are?
I think that they're very intellectual, very smart people, and the pillars of our society.
And if they're really smart, they get it sponsored, or there's some sort of bet.
Pillars of society. Yeah, well, and they're like, it's like the same guy, you're right, that owns like the 80-foot yacht and all that. And
yes,
absolutely. The guy that's, I'm going to do your open heart surgery right after I run onto the field.
Absolutely.
That's the guy. Okay, yeah.
That's my impression of them.
You're right. It's because it's just totally the opposite of what you'd think. But you're right. It's that flipping the coin type of thing. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, they're intellectuals. They're the pillars of our society, and I think they do a pros and cons list. And they decide, I think it's going to be a good idea that I run on the field during a sporting event, get tackled, and get arrested.
I think so too. And then I'm gonna go do that brain transplant to Bob in the
That's
OR.
2 days later. 2 days later, they have to do the brain transplant. So they have to really schedule that they go to a game so that they can get out of jail in time to do the brain transplant.
You got this all figured out. Okay. All right. Well, that's the comedy stylings of Rich Rubino, folks. Another wonderful job. I tell you what, I can't get enough of you. I just had you on not too long ago. If I call you next week, I hope you're available.
You got it.
All right, buddy. Thanks again, as always. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Well, did you have a good time today?
Had a wonderful time. Can't wait for whenever the next State of the Union is. Is it this Tuesday?
I don't know.
How many times are you going to do it?
I don't know. Well, we got to let Rich Rubino know because he comes on right after that, so we got to give him time to write some more jokes. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what I always say, don't you? And now you do, too.
If you don't have a right mind, you don't have a mind at all.
Till
next time, bye-bye.
So beautiful.
Thanks for tuning in to The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. To find out about all things Todd, go to toddsprod.com. We will see you next Saturday night at 5 p.m. right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, and always streaming online at newstalkstl.com.